Well, welcome back, everybody. We are so excited to bring you this next matchup. I know I teased it already, but we have two previous world champions. There are only three previous world champions at this event, and two of them playing on board one for y'all. This will be an entertaining one. Adam Logan of Canada and David Eldar of Australia to face off in this one. Of course, the third other world champion in the room, Wellington Jagiri of Nigeria, and I'm sure we'll be featuring plenty of Wellington as this tournament goes on. But I saw this matchup and I was licking my chops. How could we not bring you these two players? So that is what you're going to watch. We do apologize for the brief delay between the last round and this one, as David Eldar looks like his game went down to the wire, and he ended up in a 406 to 406 draw against American Kevin Fraley. So those draw games typically use all their clock, go down to a recount and then some. So that's why we had a small delay between the rounds. David, I'm sure, has to feel a little bit drained. You can see he's probably out stretching his legs, getting some water, relieving his bladder. But we will get this game underway very shortly. And Shan, Adam Logan is from your country. Have you played him before? Do you have familiarity with his game?
Yeah, several times. I know Adam quite well. He's a fast player. People know for his quick arithmetic, quick thinking, his ability to look at a pool of tiles and in a fraction of a second, he sometimes comes out with all the possible words that are in there. So his brain works very much like a computer in terms of just the computational speed that it offers. Outside of Scrabble, Adam is a mathematician, constantly writing papers and attending conferences. So he's a very intelligent person who brings a lot to the table when he plays the game, and that's why he's a previous Canadian champion, previous world champion, and that's something that I've been very closely attuned to now. So I get the benefit in this game of getting to learn a little bit more about David, learning how what his playing style is like, and seeing how it fares against Adam. So this is really going to be a treat.
Yeah, this will be great. Adam with a solid math and arithmetic background, but David Eldar comes from a very solid game theory background. He's also a top poker player, so he knows a lot about games, gamesmanship, calculating probability and odds, trying to read his opponent. And man, I am just excited to watch this game of Scrabble between these two players, see what kind of decisions they make. As David Eldar now seated at the table, but it seems we've lost Adam Logan. I do want to point out a great point brought up by the chat. Thank you, Mitsurugi 2015, for this. Remember, David Eldar yesterday won a game by 580 points and had a ridiculously large point spread. That tie, devastating for him, as now that spread doesn't matter in most cases. That's wild for him. So that tie effectively a loss, as he would have led the tiebreaker on point spread against almost every opponent with that huge victory.
Well, a tie is always better than a loss. So I think yeah, that's an amazing spread. That's just incredible. The fact that he that in anyone at this level to be able to win by that margin. Yes, you need the tiles to fall a certain way, and perhaps your opponent doesn't have the greatest game. But that being said, that's often a case where it becomes a spectator sport for one player, where they just watch and see a master just play every turn with incredible firepower of depth of word knowledge, depth of intelligence, and when it comes to selecting the right play to set up optimal leave. Like that's what these players are capable of, and to see here of a 580 point spread in this competition is just goes to show that even as outstanding as all the players are here, that there are players who end up being the ultimate superstars, and David Eldar is certainly one of them, and now he's matched up against Adam Logan, so we're going to see a very exciting game. I'm sure. I'm hopeful the tiles will fall in a way that we can have an exciting game throughout. But it's definitely going to be educational. We're going to pick up a few words that we didn't know. we're going to see some decision making, I think, that is going to challenge us. And honestly, as commentators, I feel like what we think might be right, or what even a computer program might indicate as the optimal play, is sometimes not. And sometimes these players are in that category, that echelon, that what they do ends up being the play that sounds like it must be the right play, just for the fact that it's them playing it.
And all these nice things you have to say about both of these players, all of them true, but one failure on David Eldar's part. He just knocked over a cup of water and spilled all over board one. Boo. Come on, David. You can be a world champion at Scrabble, but you can't even keep water in a glass. Come on, do better. Party foul. Okay, just kidding. I'll stop roasting. Adam Logan to play second, David Eldar with the first draw here. And we will get underway as soon as David grabs 7 tiles out of the bag. Hopefully he doesn't spill those 2.
Well, maybe it was a Canadian nicety to allow his opponent to go first. That would right. that should be the case. All Canadian games always we go second, no matter what.
And if you do go first, you apologize with the suri.
That's exactly it.
Oh, all right. Well, I didn't even get to see
the play is coming down before we see the tiles, and that seems like a straightforward play for David, who sees djembe without having anything else to really consider here. It's with the R and the V, it really just means that there weren't too many good choices, but just the speed at which the tiles didn't even all hit the rack before they were landing on the board. That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else to even consider out of that rack. Djembe, the highest scoring move in Quackle, and the next highest move is djembe, but with the J on the star for 14 fewer points. So definitely a no-brainer decision there. And djembe has a key hook, takes a front D, a kind of drum that I've played before as a percussionist myself. And David immediately picking up that D as well as a bingo. So that's going to be a hot start for him, as Adam with a meh rack EFIITVW. Not too much for him to do. I think he's going to have to end up making a small intermediate play using the first E, and djembe, wife, or wifey, all kind of standing out as the options to me. Shan, between those, what are you thinking and why?
Well, they're not glorious options, so I don't think that any of those are a wrong play. It's kind of, it goes down to what you're feeling that will happen next. I sort of think that Wive might be a good choice in that it sets up the F potentially for a little bit of a scoring option, because you're probably not getting out of trouble in just a single turn. You probably have to play another mid-scoring play before getting into an optimal bingo situation. And I just want to note, djembe does have a front hook of the D, which is going to be interesting as well. Djembe being a Swahili word, apparently. So for a hoe, a type of tool. So if anyone from East Africa is in the chat, wants to give us some more Swahili context on that, that's great. But that's already being taken advantage of really quickly as the hook arrives in no time. And we see Eldar go into a big lead, and now giving Adam a deficit that he really needs to somehow dig into.
Yeah, David wasting no time, arrived, and djembe easily his highest scoring bingo, and that's going to pull him ahead 140-20 after just 2 moves. So perhaps Adam going to call his opponent a djembe after that play. Adam made the play of wife as opposed to wive. I think many players would play wive in that situation, but perhaps some of the rationale there. The V, a little bit better in terms of drawing a bingo next turn, and the front hook available on WIVE is an S, swive. So perhaps Adam doesn't want to give that opportunity away as well. His plan does backfire. He has the nice leave EITV. I'm going to pull RRL into that. So not the pull Adam would have liked to see. And I think at this point, he'll be forced to open this board with this big deficit. 2 nice ways to do so: VIRL through the R and arrived. puts a lot of pressure on David, who would need a good rack to address that threat. But it holds 2 Rs. The other option, and I think the most straightforward one, is Jiver from the J, scoring 30 points, holding LRT. I think that's got to be the play Adam makes here, though perhaps he could get extra aggressive and try to make a play like VAR through the A and arrived and hold as great a leave as possible to bingo immediately. I think Jiver's got to be the play, though, here. Shan, what do you think?
Yeah, it looks like he's lined up Jiver, so I wouldn't question it. But the option of Verl doesn't strike me as that bad, only because the 2 R's with the T and potentially through the V on the board have synergy. So I feel like that option would have been also okay with me. But this really does a great job of opening up the board, scoring the points, gives you a nice E line, which could be very, very helpful. Having 2 of them, which means that there's a possibilities of double doubles. It makes it harder for David Eldar to block everything. So that's definitely, I think, just a cut above Verl. And now it's back to David, who's got some pretty solid tiles from a bingo, high probability tiles standpoint. Does it produce a bingo, Matt?
It does not, know. So David, no opportunity to bingo, but gets to make a big decision in this game about what he wants to do. 90-point lead, and it is his turn, certainly in a commanding position in this game. And when that happens, you're often looking to start shutting down the board. But how could David do that? I think his best equity play, just from a sheer scoring points this turn and next turn, is Duad above arrived, DUAD, forming DA, AR, UR, and DI. But perhaps he's looking to address other quadrants of the board instead. He has a play that will really start to shut this board down. Something like SUDD and Jimbes will create a lot of chaos on this board and make it difficult for Adam to crawl back into this game. But that's a rather interesting play and a tough one to pull the trigger on, because you've got potential to keep a great leave. Duad holding NST, nice flexible bingo prone. He could sell out for a bingo next turn and say, you know what? Forget defense. I'm just going to score as much as I can. The best defense is a good offense. He could play dud above Jiver, just DUD. Only 15 points, but ANST is a superb leave. So I don't know, Duad on top or its anagram Dodd, DAUD, both seem like good options, but maybe he opts to try to start shutting down this board instead and foregoes a few points of equity. I'm very curious to see what David does in this instance.
It looks like he's about to place Dodd down, which is really interesting. As a more average player, I feel like when I'm not sure what to do, I opt for taking points. So I might have killed one of the lines and pluralized djembe or jiver and made a short little play of dust or something like that. But now he's played duad. Great leave of NST with 2 open E's on the board. There's a very good chance that if you can draw a few other common tiles that he'll be bingoing again anyway. And he's made it such that those R's and A's aren't free. So we'll see what it does to Adam, who's struggling again with another rack of clunkers.
Yeah, the last play, Duad versus Dodd, a decision David lamented on, but ironically, both of them to give back a solid play for Adam here. Logo playing above on that triple word square, ODA, GUR, and OAR. Or if he had flipped and played Dodd, it'd be ODA, GAR, and OUR. So either way that plays, 39 points for Adam if he makes that play. Although RTT perhaps not the best leave, he could look to make other options in that play, or in that spot. A TOLT for 26 holds GOR. Tool holds 20, or for 26 as well, holds GRT. But I expect likely to see Adam make some kind of play up there. And there it is, Logo. 30 points for Adam, trying to catch back up, exhausting that quadrant of the board, and we'll see where this RTT leave takes him next turn. But I'm sure he's hoping to pick up a couple vowels and not to do triplicate up on those T's in this situation. AEMNSTZ for David Eldar. The Z, such a good tile, especially in the CSW lexicon. ZA, ZO, ZE, all valid for stacking opportunities. And the nice little 3-letter ZEN above Jiver certainly looks to be a solid option. Zen does take a back S in this lexicon, but David holding that S, probably rather excited to get that spot available. He may also consider MZEE through the E in Jiver, a nice way to hold a good leave, score 30 points as well. Or maybe he plays off the S here. Zest and Jivers would score well, but give huge overlapping plays to Adam. So I think the good candidate options here, ZEN or MZEE, are likely what David is thinking about here. Shan, what do you think about either of those plays?
Yeah, I mean, I think Meze is a pretty strong play, instinctive play for a player at my level, where you want to keep really high prob tiles so that because you may not have the depth of word knowledge that somebody like David Eldar has. So that's kind of where my mind goes. But I think he's looking at play, kind of controlling a little bit of the board and scoring. So with Zen, I think that's very reasonable, very much straightforward as to the logic behind it. Score some good points, keep a good lead. Definitely one of the candidate plays that I would have also thought about. And what this means is it's also he doesn't have to do too much now. He's kind of taking out the left corner's been taken out, and now working around making the right corner kind of harder to use. And then unless Adam can strike back quickly to get in range. Now he does have a bingo that he has actually not.
Wow. I think this is a rare bingo miss. It's tough to spot a bingo, but titlark, Titlark, a type of bird, played alongside the E and djembe there, 65 points, either with TE or ET. I'm surprised to see Adam miss that play, and I don't think this was a tactical decision. I think this was a miss.
Yeah, that is surprising. Um, that being said, he did score a lot of points. So it's possible that I agree that it's not a tactical decision, but it is possible that maybe you could say that the amount of damage missing this bingo is question. It may not be as much of a deficit because he's taken some good points, and he kept a good lead, although he didn't draw anything great out of it. So an unfortunate thing that miss will probably make it very hard for Adam to come back in this game, especially now that another hook is on the board here and scoring for David, who otherwise didn't really have great rack with very much to do with it. So kind of a get out of jail free card for David Eldar as he cashes in on that.
Yeah, this is a mistake that's definitely, I think, going to come back and haunt Adam, especially as David immediately able to cash that S. And already dire straits for the Canadian here, as he's facing over 100-point deficit, does not have a good rack, and many of his top candidate plays don't do much to help him open this board back up and give him a fighting chance. MIX from the M and djembe, a good way to score, but CLNPT is a pretty awful leave. So perhaps an option instead in clip, INCLIP from the I in wife, to try to give this board some life once again. In clip does take a back S, but no other hooks. The play of Zerantic, XERANTIC, looks rather promising through the ERA. Formed in the top right side of this board. That would set up the C for maybe big opportunities to play CH and a big word coming down that way if Adam is looking to score and open this board. But despite having the X, a powerful tile in this game, not many options to score with it here. Quackle's favorite play of PLEX is effectively game over on this. PLEX through the E and djembe. So Adam is going to score some points, roll the dice, and see if he's able to pull some vowels into the CLNPT leave. David Eldar with a great pull. He has picked up the first of the 2 blanks in this game. The Q along with it. on his rack now, and he'll have to decide what to do out of this rack. He could burn the blank. Quiet playing Beneath Wife is 44 points, significantly better than almost any other option. QIN to the N and Zen scores just 12. And aside from those two plays, he's likely looking at an exchange out of this rack. Shan, would you play a blank for 44 points in this situation?
I probably wouldn't play it myself. That being said, doesn't mean that that's not the right choice. Playing off a couple of vowels and seeing how you can turn this rack into bingo potentially, or a high-scoring play, when kind of putting the emphasis on Adam kind of making the first move and seeing how it plays out, as kind of how I might play a little bit more cat and mouse kind of approach. But I think if he does play quiet, that will make a lot of sense, just because he's scoring and keeping AE is very strong. So I do think that that's possibly what will happen in the end. But I kind of like a patient play of EA, RE, and TA, which scores really low, yes. But that being said, might turn into a good, really strong play the following turn, especially when you can, have the E line to the triple as well as an RE line that's available. But it looks like he is considering now dumping quiet. So we'll see if he pulls the trigger on that. I feel that the one thing about doing so is, you reveal the fact that you have this blank, and that you've had this blank, and at least your opponent then gets a more realistic idea of what's going on, as opposed to waiting kind of leaves your opponent more optimistic and potentially opening up a dangerous spot for you. So instead, quiet comes down. I think if I'm Adam and my opponent had the blank, at least I have take some solace in the fact that they were only able to do that much with it. But he's actually found a quick bingo there, which I didn't see. So really good stuff. Gets Adam at least something rolling for him with Placenta.
Yeah, Placenta, the only playable bingo for Adam Logan, and he wastes no time whatsoever placing that down. Placenta with 3 key back hooks behind it. It takes an S naturally, an L, and an E. So we'll test a player's knowledge of these 8 to make 9 hooks as this game proceeds. But Adam with a nice draw of, or David with a nice draw of his own after his play of quiet. He's drawn the 7-letter oregano, but does not have a spot to play it. And now David only up all of a sudden by 64 points. Will he get aggressive and try to fish to bingo, or will he try to score as much as he can? He could address the Placenta hook right now with a 5-tile play like Ergon, ERGON. 28 points will put him ahead by nearly 100. Or does he make a more standard equity type play, as we call it in Scrabble, playing OO somewhere, holding AEGNR, very bingo prone tiles together, with 4 I's to be drawn in the unseen pool, as well as 3 T's and 3 S's. Any of those would likely yield a bingo for him. Maybe he splits the difference as well. OE and Placenta, a reasonable option. AGNOR, not as nice as AEGNR, but it does knock out the most dangerous spot on the board and keeps your rack rather flexible. Shan, how worried are you about the hooks to Placenta if you're David Eldar here?
I wouldn't worry about it right now, because I feel like your opponent has just played 7 tiles. They haven't had an improved rack. You have an opportunity to balance your rack and be in a very bingo-prone position once again. So I feel like you have to bank on yourself that you're going to hit the bingo first. And if that's the case, I see, playing off 2 vowels. Ideally, playing off 2 O's is one thing, but I think that his options for dumping the 2 O's may be excessively aggressive. Maybe he even considers playing off OCA and forming OB. Because if you do that, O also has some nice synergy with like an R and an O have a nice synergy with the P. So there's different ways in which you can balance your rack or set up for a bingo in the following turn. potentially. But I don't feel like it's absolutely necessary to just kill a hook or do so. And now he's playing long though, and he's gone with Ergon. So that's a little surprising to me that he's opening up. Bingo lanes through N and G, and basically blowing up this rack to start fresh. I'm a little bit surprised by that, and I think that's a very interesting approach to dealing with that rack. But he's scoring points and trying to keep that margin a little bit strong, distant for Adam, so that even if he does hit a bingo, that he's not able to take a lead that quickly.
I like this play a lot. David essentially saying, you know what, I'm not going to take this game up to variance. I'm not going to rely on having to draw bingo next turn. I am not going to get caught up fishing with this rack. I am going to score points. Come and get me, Adam. He's now ahead nearly 100, and Adam, unable to bingo in response, is going to start facing a time crunch. He'll need one high-scoring bingo or two lower-scoring bingos to get back into this game now, as David just turning on the jets, trying to run away. Adam, D-I-O-O-P-S-T. One nice option, P-O-O-D, to the left side of Ergon, would set up his S nicely. P-O-O-D does take a back S, and Adam has it. But there are still two more unseen S's to Adam, and if that play backfires, as his play of carts does, David would be able to score so well that likely this game is done. Does Adam roll the dice, try to set up his own S and strengthen his leave? Or does he play something more standard, perhaps just P-O-D instead, less volatile? Or maybe looks to play those tiles elsewhere, P-O-O-D, underneath Placenta, forming P-O-L-O and A-D. Very curious to see what a great mind like Adam Logan decides to do in this situation. It's a tricky one. I think I would play Pood anyway and end up losing the game to David's S.
I wonder, well, you mentioned the option of playing it under Placenta, and I think I'm wondering if POOT, allowing a front hook of an S, might be a little less aggressive, in the sense that that, yes, there's going to be a front hook of an S, but that means that someone playing there will only really benefit from it if they are playing a bingo, which is what he hopes to do. Whereas when you play it down, opening the triple line at the bottom, a non-bingo play, with an S will score and kill it. So I feel like maybe there's some other mid-range, mid-type play that he can do, which will open opportunity for him without kind of being a go for broke kind of option.
This is a pivotal turn, especially as we see David Eldar, A-B-H-O-S-T-T, will have just one 8-letter bingo. It requires a C, and yet the C on the board will allow him to play it. Chatbots plays from the C, and we might get some really interesting play after that. If Adam able to make a great pull, David plays the bingo and strings an S in the 7th spot between two triple words. This could be spicy. So Adam is playing Pood, sets up the S. David with the S, will he play his bingo and open a triple line? Chatbots would put him ahead by nearly 140 points. Or will he play more conservative and just cash this S somewhere? S-H-O-T-T plays beneath Pood, making Poods for 44. O-A-T-H-S also fits as a 5 underlap beneath Placente, P-O-L-A-A-T-C-H, and Jimbes. That scores 50 points. So does David play the 70-point bingo here and open a triple? It appears that, yes, he's decided to do that, rolling the dice as one does so often in Vegas, and says, Adam, one more time, come get me. Here it is. And Adam has an incredible pull, C-E-I-N-O-S-T, but no triples available with that rack.
Yeah, a letter off from Countess and a number of other potential almost triples, but nothing here. Now his 7-letter options, are also quite just got both notices and section, which I think most of the audience will have picked up on, but but those don't play anywhere. So then you look at what are the eights that are available. There are a number of letters available to playing eights, but kind of the possibility of just a kind of an ordinary bingo landing, is not really a threat that David Eldar had to worry about. Really, it was just if you play chatbots, open the triple lane, leave it to my opponent to see if they have one there, but they don't. So it seems to have worked out pretty well for David, who, even though will be bingoed against, probably has to feel pretty good about his chances of winning the game after that.
If I'm Adam, I think my bingos lose this game. Play like Ponziist or Lections from the P or the L are instant losses. My bingo just doesn't score enough. The board is dead. I wonder if Adam forgoes a bingo here to make the ultimate gambit, ultimate content play, and opens a second triple. I'm drawn to this play of Ponce, Ponce, from the PO alongside Pood and Ergon. You know what? Let's open a second one. Let's hold as well as I can, and let's roll the dice, see if I can hit either one of these triples to get back into this game. Oh man, that would be some content for us, absolutely, but could backfire immensely on Adam. Oh, I wonder, do we open the second triple, or do we just take the boring 70-point bingo and minimize our spread here?
Well, you know what? I think that that's not too likely. Opening a triple line to somehow come back in the game is a very viable and reasonable thing to do in many circumstances. But I feel one of the issues here is that the five power consonants are all on the board, and then you're looking at some other lower, point consonants that are available in the tile draws, meaning that if you do, in the situation where you do manage to hit a triple, you're probably getting a low scoring triple, which means that it's not going to be enough in and of itself to come back fully in this game. So taking on that big risk, that big dice roll, and passing up on guaranteed points now feels not so worthwhile. The potential to bingo now and hope to draw some other lucky 7 tiles to hit another bingo seems more reasonable to me than take a dice roll on a possible, a very, very, very unlikely triple that's going to be low scoring.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting decision. David with a ridiculous draw, equinely to play through the queue in quiet. So Adam's decision here is crucial. If he opens a second triple, both will stay open. If he bingos with Ponziist or Lections, he'll get bingoed back on. But one play, Stenotic, through the T in chatbots, the top T in chatbots, would block equinely and keep a triple line open. We expect David to block the triple, but Adam's decision here will be big in terms of deciding his chances to stay in this game. Oh man, Stenotic through the T in chatbots, Stenotic through the bottom T for more points, Ponziist, Lections, or forego every single bingo and open a triple. A lot for Adam to think about here. He knows this turn pivotal in deciding the outcome of this game.
Yeah, that's quite a interesting thing. The fact that he's has these options for bingos, and then meanwhile with a much less bingo prone rack for David Eldar holding a U and a Y, he has this equinely bingo that will potentially come down. And that's quite a turn of events. We'll see if what Adam actually chooses in the end. He seems to have lined up Sonicate here, which places the C on the triple letter score. Perhaps he's liking the fact that with the S line, the S in the third position, that's a line, potential line as well. That's promising, a promising reason for maybe picking that one. Definitely not an easy choice for Adam. Many options for bingos, but not really one clear winner.
Wow, so Sonicate going to block equinely, and I think this is a great play because it also leaves the B in chatbots available. The B, not a tile you think to bingo through, and yet looking at the unseen pool, which we'll get on display now, 2 A's, 3 I's, 2 L's, and 4 E's. So able or ibble words, as well as 2 Y's, ably or ibly words, all fit should Adam pull one. So I think Sonicate, a great decision, somewhat counterintuitive. I think a lot of people make a different play there, but Adam's showing us why he's so good at calculating. He needs 2 bingos to win. Here's one. Keep as much life on this board as you can and try to get another one. And also, crucially, though he doesn't know this, blocking equinely. So David, I think, going to play Lunyies to the S in chatbots, scores very well, knocks out the triple, plays off 6 tiles to rush to the end of this game. I can't imagine we see anything else out of this turn. And Adam missing the blank in the bag, EENRSUY. As Lunyies comes down, and Adam now got probably one more shot with 4 in the bag to try to draw that blank and a bingo that will fit on this board and maybe catch him up. Though down 112 points after Lunyies, I don't even think a bingo is going to do it for him here. And David pulling that blank anyway, that is gravy for him. This one's over, folks.
Yeah, so from Adam's vantage point, the consonants that are unseen, the F, the H, and the W. Well, having a bingo that with a big consonant or 2 big consonants would help increase the score. So the question is like where to play to kind of keep within range. Right now he's down by enough of a margin where you cannot purely fish. You kind of need to fish and still score enough points that you can kind of stay in a striking range. Now there's no triple line open. So if he were to play to try to open a triple line, we know it'll get shut down. So it really requires some thought around what might be a strategic way to open a line. I could see maybe a play like, and this is just really preliminary without really doing a lot of scanning, but like Guy, GUY opens the S hook on one side while you have the other S hook at the bottom. So maybe that's the way to go. Really give your opponent make them choose where to play while you keep the bingo prone tiles. He's got to have some fortunate bounce in order to bingo without that blank. And the other problem is that with so many vowels on David's rack, it might be the case where you think from the unseen pool that, oh, I'm going to draw some vowels, so let me unload some vowels. But in reality, you're not likely to draw vowels, and that could be also a factor in terms affecting like what Adam will in fact actually draw. So it's looking questionable whether or not he'll be able to fish and hit a bingo at all, let alone one that can catch him up.
I expect to see YU above Sonicate, YO and PUN as the fish we see from Adam, just to keep as many lines open as possible. GUI may be an option to give him one additional spot for the S, but I think YU, you want to leave enough fog of war in that bag. If you play 3 tiles here, David could probably figure out your most likely bingos to block, but if you leave 2 in the bag, I think there's enough that David has to infer, and maybe he'll block the wrong line, or with this score, honestly, doesn't need to block a line at all. But we'll see. We know, of course, the blank is on David's rack, and Adam is all but dead in this game. But here we go. Oh, so Yui instead going to come down. Perhaps he sees all these unseen vowels, wants to play off one more. Yui for 21. Adam, one last shot to try to bingo. But David, with that blank on his rack and all of these great vowels, likely going to hold on and win this game, and likely not going to get bingoed on. Adams pull A, F, and W. So Fawners is there, but it doesn't play anywhere. And yeah, looks like David to win this game. David's going to have to do a little bit of math, figure out the biggest threat unseen to me. But he'll look at the unseen pool, AEFHNRSW, and correctly identify that there are no bingos whatsoever that he needs to be worried about, that he needs to be blocking. The biggest opportunities for Adam would be 5-tile plays beneath Pood, making SH or SW in some way. So maybe he blocks those. Maybe he opts to play conservatively and block bingos anyway if he's not absolutely confident that there's nothing there for Adam. Not sure exactly what to see from David, but we do know that he's not going to open a spot for Adam to play Fawners, and he's going to hold on to win this game.
Yeah, well, it was a tough, tall order for Adam to get back into this game. Really, the fact that he hit Placenta and sort of made that last portion of the game interesting, but it was really just too much firepower coming from David with plays like chatbots putting up another, like, extending that lead that was already there, and overall, like, just really having hit Adam with a number of big scores. I think there was really only one moment in the game where it's like, well, was Titlark a miss that affected the direction too much, or was it point sacrifice of a few points in order to keep something up on tiles that just didn't work out? Hard to say. I think really now we are looking at a game where potentially opening up a line for 7 seemed an optimal choice in this last turn, but only because we have the benefit of knowing that all these vowels were sitting on David's rack. So from Adam's vantage point, that was a very you know different looking pool that would have made it appear that Yui might have worked out more often. But now it's just a matter of seeing what David plays, score a few points, probably try to remove one line or make it more difficult, and so that Adam doesn't do anything more to score any decent points and extend that spread.
David could blow this game if he really wants to. A Dew through the D and Pood would lose the game for him, as it would allow Fawners to come down for a bazillion. David would pull the H out of the bag, and Adam would actually go on to win by 4. Now, there's no way a player as good as David actually makes that play, but that would be hilarious if we saw it. Sometimes the standard equity play is the only way to lose the game. Again, David Eldar, way too smart to do that, but it's there. It exists. Adieu. I'm just trying to create suspense when there isn't some, so I'm sorry.
You're almost tempted to see it happen. Tempted to see a mistake in order to see an exciting and comeback. But yeah, I don't think that particular mistake is very possible. But anything is really possible. The fact that it's mathematically possible for Adam to still win this game is still that's notable in and of itself. So nice observation. I think I think he's potentially looking at a play, overlapping Pood, maybe a few tiles. Looks like Ilya was the one he's looking at for Ilya and Ion, which seems a little bit more likely to be a possible candidate. But overall, like some, again, just looking at the words on the board, we see, for players at this level, none of these words are uncommon, except chatbot, which is just not that, which is maybe a commonly used word, but not necessarily a word that comes up often in games. So that's interesting. But the rest of the words here, pretty conventional for players at this level. Some interesting definitions, for some of these words. For example, ergon, which is a word for work or business that comes from Greek. That's an interesting one that I like on this board. A djembe, hooking that D for the bingo was a critical early play for David. So some really nice word knowledge displayed by these players.
Yeah, looking at next round's pairings, we're going to pull Conrad Bassett-Bouchard from the States versus the other world champion we haven't had on stream yet, and that's Wellington Jagiri. So that one to come after this one resolves. I'm excited to watch that one as well. Good game by both players. I think Adam going to lament maybe the miss of Titlark, win or if he's made aware of it. We do, for Shan, I'll say this, but also for viewers at home, we do have a microphone alongside the board, and we'll see. I don't know to what degree these players post-mortem, but we'll try to cut to that once the clocks are stopped here. In order to see if there's any post-game banter, see if the players have some analysis of their own that they want to contribute. Sometimes players just sulk away from the board. Sometimes they have riveting conversations for 10 minutes afterwards. So we'll do our best as soon as the clocks are stopped and see if we get any sort of post-mortem from these players. Regardless, the next game to come, Conrad Bassett-Bouchard and Wellington Jagiri here on board one at the World Scrabble Championships.
Well, that's going to be exciting. For Adam now, he's looking at his, his imminent loss. He knows the tiles on David's rack, that David will have, options for some outplays, how to score a few points and just reduce the spread. You mentioned earlier that with the tie games, it's very, it seems there's less emphasis on spread because the tie breaks the ties rather than before spread does. But there are other people in this event that will be at near the top of the standings with ties on their rack, ties on their record, and with David picking up the win here, his record will actually match Adam's. So still want to kind of cut into spread and try to keep that going, where you can reduce the margin that you've lost by. And in this particular case, looking at the F and W and how you can unload them both for the maximum score is something that they'd be looking at. I think if he had an O, then maybe playing WOF would have been a good option for Adam, but it doesn't seem to be one immediately straightforward play in order to use both those letters. Do you see one, Matt, that allows Adam to unload both the F and W while scoring?
Yeah, he's got one play. That'd be AWFY to the Y in Lunyi's, would score 26 points, hold ERNS to allow an outplay next turn. Quackle saying that's the second best end game. There's one option that is 2 points better, and that's the tough to spot Swan, SWAN, beneath Sonicate, ESSYOWNA, and IN for 32 points. Would hold ERF to allow him to go out in a number of spots as well. And right on cue, Adam finding his optimal end game and dropping it down.
Well, even in defeat, Adam playing proficiently. The main thing here is that this game was really driven by like how it kind of started off. You kind of got the sense that this could have been even more lopsided than it was. I mean, Adam ended up being going with Placenta, pretty quickly, considering like that the turn before it may have seemed like he was not really in that strongly a bingo prone position, playing Logo. So I do think that this is one where I feel like Adam had an uphill climb, and he's tried to stay within range, and came up a little short in terms of being able to have that one last push at creating a really dangerous opportunity for himself. It could have been different had he had a different tile and hit Countess instead of, or one of the triples that was available after chatbots. We might have seen this go in a different direction in the end. But well played by David, no doubt, who used all of his opportunities. Djembe was a straightforward play. Arrived was a straightforward play. But plays like Duad, where he had some choices to make in Quiet, and playing Zen, the way he controlled the board, and made it as difficult as possible on Adam. That was impressive, and he took advantage of every opportunity.
Yeah, well played game by both of these folks. I think the miss of Titlark, the pivotal moment in this one, and David with some big turns of his own. That Ergon decision, very interesting. A play I think some players would have made. One that I made, or one that I liked quite a bit. Interesting game, fun one for us to watch. But David has made two fundamental mistakes in this game as well. First, spilling his water all over the table, and if you caught it, after Adam played Swan, David thought Adam miscounted the play, had to recount it himself, and was like, oh yeah, you got it right. I don't think we're going to see many miscounted plays from the mathematician that Adam Logan is. So interesting thought there, David, but Adam's not going to miscount the play.
Well, these are, if this is the kind of caliber of play there is, and these are the types of quote unquote errors that are available. It just goes to show what incredible level of play these two previous world champions are at, and what that means for their odds of potentially coming out of a world champion after this tournament is over.
Yeah, we'll cut to the overhead mic now, Shan.
Very good.
First turn, first turn I could have played wide instead of wife. I thought that EITV worked better than EITF, but maybe the F here tips the balance and we would have had filter the next turn.
Ooh.
But anyway.
What do you VEIT?
VEIT.
IT.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That is close, isn't it?
Anyway.
I can't remember. It's probably pretty negligible.
No. How much is it worth to set up the F here?
Once again, sorry?
How much is it worth to have the F set up here?
Yeah. How long is a piece of string?
Yeah. Just to confirm this one.
So you can see post-mortem seems to be over, but Adam lamenting one of his early decisions in the game. In fact, his first move, he realizes had he played wive instead of wife, he would have drawn fertile and been able to bingo almost immediately. But he's saying he tried to set up the F instead, and it cost him big.
No, he didn't try to set up the F. He was wondering whether how much it would have been worth to try to set up the F by keeping the V, in terms of the difference between the two leaves, which one would be more likely to bingo. He thought the V would give him a better bingo chance. It turned out that was not the one. And meanwhile, even if he had not bingoed, having the F would have, set it up, but he wasn't sure that was worth a reason enough to do it. But that goes to show, it was one of the only turns in the game where really Adam is looking back and thinking, what it would have been. No comment on whether or not Titlark was something that he had seen or just missed on it. But
it had to be a miss. I'm hearing from our production team that the game I promised, Conrad and Wellington, has already begun. They're like somehow 9 minutes into their game already, and we do not interrupt games in progress to move them onto stream. So I lied. Conrad and Wellington will not be broadcast, and we're going to have to find a marquee matchup of players who have not yet begun. So with that, we'll cut a quick break. I will try to figure out our matchup and drop it in chat as soon as possible, and we'll be back with more Scrabble action. Once again, this is Matt Canik, joined by Shan Abbasi from the World Scrabble Championship in Las Vegas, Nevada. We will be back shortly, folks. Don't go anywhere.